And we are live. Greetings and salutations, Focused Up family. Welcome to the May 6, 2023 episode of Focused Up Show. We thank you for tuning in with us live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and various other platforms and catching up with us on replay. And ask that you click that like, subscribe, that bell, and share to support and maintain your weekly Focus Up fix. I am Mr. Nice Guy. That's nice as in Saint spelled backwards. My co-hosts are the lovely First Lady J. We got infamous El Pooh. In the background floating around there is Brother Floyd X. And we're going to have a special guest today. That's going to be Omar Hunter to speak on some things. So let's get this started off. First Lady J, how are you doing this Saturday morning?
I am well, thank you. I hope you fellas are well too.
Infamous, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Blessed and happy to be here, bro.
All right, so we probably want to just flip it in. I would ask Brother Floyd X how he's doing, but he's sitting there hiding. But he'll tell us when he comes in.
I'm here, brother. Where Walk at? What happened to Walk? I tried to call him. Did he say
yes.
he wasn't gonna be here?
Okay, so let me
He's
apologize.
somewhere doing sex talk.
He's finally getting around to it. I forgot to shout out our brother Walk. Me and him go at it all the time, but that's my brother. I love him, and we're gonna miss his energy, his random ignorance and all that other stuff. So shout out to our brother that's not here in actuality, but still here in spirit.
Where's he at, Mr. Nice Guy?
Ducking me, but that's good.
Damn.
I said
it. Damn. Okay.
So let's get into the news. You know what? We should probably, let's bring in Brother Omar.
All right, let's bring in Brother Omar.
Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing this Saturday morning?
Oh, I'm okay. Excited to be on the show. Look forward to the discussion.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's get in some dialogue. Was you about to say something, Brother Floyd X?
Welcome to the show, Mr. Omar. Look forward to hearing your insight and things like that. The brother gave me some good news and said that you was a atheist like myself. So I'm glad to have you on the show.
I was an atheist in the closet, but let's put it out there, okay?
Oh shit, my bad, bro.
Yeah, I like that. It's time to come out.
He about that atheist life. You look at his post. There ain't no atheist in the closet, nothing. He be going out.
Okay.
Hey, I have to say something. Out of all of that, my mama still don't know though.
Oh, okay. That's really in the closet. So let's segue over there in the news. So our first in the news topic.
Let's go with the Jordan Neely.
Okay, now as I understand this situation, this brother Jordan Neely was like a street performer, homeless person, and he was on some type of maybe like a subway, and he was having some type of mental breakdown. Now, they say that it wasn't like a threat of physical violence, but I mean, he was kind of acting out and going off. And this one person, I forgot what his name is. He's a Marine, but he decided to play a good Samaritan to at least to restrain him. But his restraint went too far because this brother, Jordan Neely, ended up dying. So now it presents a situation where, what's his responsibility for taking his brother's life? We know that the chokehold is a dangerous maneuver. That's why it was outlawed by the police. So when a civilian does it, they probably shouldn't get that free pass. But what's your take on that, First Lady?
Anytime you messing around with somebody's airway, you know the results, especially if you're a trained Marine. So he could have restrained him a different way if he wanted to intervene. I don't approve of the chokehold by far. Like I said, you cut off a person's airway, they can only survive so long. without oxygen getting to the brain. So I felt like he needs to be arrested. He wasn't a good Samaritan by doing a chokehold, especially as an experienced Marine.
Brother Floyd X, what's your take on that?
Man, it's disturbing, brother. The brother choked him out, and I know sometimes as young people, we think you could put somebody to sleep and think nothing of that chokehold, but you are messing with a man's life, and he didn't have to put him in the chokehold and kill him like that. It's other ways of restraining them, and there was other people on them. All you had to do was just hold him. You didn't have to choke him. You could have just held him, not choke him.
Agreed.
All right, Brother El Poo, what's your take on this?
Well, first of all, let's give this man his name. It's Daniel Penny. That's his name. And yeah, he was a Marine and everything. And he did choke him out. He was he was a trained killer. Marines are trained killers, in my opinion. And it just shows you that the value of a black life doesn't really mean much. It never has since 1619. Okay.
Segue.
Great segue.
And also, I want to say, because at first he didn't even get arrested, but it had to take some public outcry for this man to even get arrested. So that shows you, what the value of a black life is today. So it is what it is, bro.
What's your take on that, Brother Omar?
Well, I don't know the details about the situation, but it does fit a familiar pattern. The organization that I was a part of, an organization called the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, and we really pioneered a study on the frequency of police killing, extrajudicial killing of black people. And our documentations report or show that every 28 hours, this occurs between the police or with a police security officer, or like in this case, a white vigilante. So it fits that familiar pattern. Excessive force. What's kind of disheartening is that I think there was a brother holding the brother down too, while the Marine, as the first lady said, he wasn't a civilian, he was a trained killer. Marines are trained killers.
This is the image right here that been shown around the world of them holding the brother down, and I believe that's the moment he was dying, his death right there and stuff. They tried to revive the brother, but to no avail.
And that's the problem in the movies, that little, you do that little choke out and everybody's okay and good and fine. But, as First Lady said, this is very dangerous stuff. And it should go without saying, when you do this for a prolonged amount of time, everything's going to be at risk. I mean, this should be simple logic. That brother with the George Floyd, you should know that if you're going to be leaning on a person's throat for that amount of time, I mean, it's.
And the other brother in front of the liquor store,
exactly.
Eric, what was his name?
Gardner.
Eric Gardner, the same similar situation that definitely.
So
I think these white vigilantes too, they have their influence. They have like this little John Wayne. I'm going to be the hero. I think inmate culture has a lot to do with that too. March, that type of, I want to go out and be the hero. I want to go out and apply excessive force and kill somebody and become this hero. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I got something else to say too. I mean, they say he was acting aggressively, but he didn't physically harm anybody or put anybody in any type of harm. What's aggressively? It's just so ambiguous to me.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I know that if I'm on the subway and somebody's yelling and screaming out, I'm on high alert. And I'll probably put together a death sequence just in case. But, of course, it'd have to get to that point. I respect life. I carry spiders outside the house, not in my hands. I know I did that. But the bottom line is I respect life, human life, all types of life. But you have to be on high alert because, there are these situations where people end up getting stabbed. I brought up that situation. I always remember this. It happened in downtown LA. This lady was pushing a baby in her stroller, and this homeless person just walked in and just literally walked by her, just reached in, grabbed her baby, and slammed it on the ground. You need to be on high alert when people are acting funny. But that doesn't give you an excuse to just take their life without repercussions.
And it always is also raised issue as far as the mental issue. I know they said the brother had mental issues. How do you treat somebody a mental issue that's clearly mental issues. If you on a train hollering and hooting at people, and you look and say, okay, I'm gonna restrain them, or you gonna choke them out? Did you put together a death plan for a mentally insane person?
Oh, me? That's the
Yes.
question to me. All
Yes.
right, I put it. Hey, trust. You can be mentally saying whatever. If you're a threat to me, you are absolutely potentially going to die. You know, but again, that's only if that threat plays out. So if I put that sequence together, that's just that's me being proactive. So you talk about me doing stuff out of fear. I don't do stuff out of fear. I do stuff out of preparation. I'm on my Bruce Wayne Batman type stuff. You know, that's why he can take on all the other superheroes with actual abilities, because preparation.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think it's a difference between somebody vocalizing aggression and somebody being physically aggressive.
Absolutely. That's where a line gets crossed. You know, words is words. I always say that, look, I'm not a prideful person. You can talk reckless to me as long as you do it from a safe distance. I don't care what you say about me. I'm an adult. I'm a responsible. I'm going to try to avoid fighting to the best that I can. But once you present a physical threat, I'm not going to wait for you. I'm going to be the first and I'm going to be the last. Okay. That's going to be that. But
I just really wonder what was the context, and do they have more video footage? Because normally what you would do is just remove yourself from the situation. If someone is acting a fool, acting erratic, just move. You know, there's plenty of room in the subways. I don't know the context.
You know, that's a different logic. See, I didn't even think about it. Me, when I think of a subway, I think about a bus. I mean, I know we got subways out here now, but you know, there ain't too much place where you can go when someone's cutting up on the bus. But yeah, subways got like different cars and all type of stuff. So it's a different picture.
Well, think about the expo line. I mean, it's all the same. Mm-hmm. Train is a train. Train, bus, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, but no, that's what you should do. That you remove yourself from it. But you know, be aware, because we do have stabbings and things that happen from people that just wig out on these vehicles. But again, I'm not making excuses for this guy. Your responsibility is this. It's always your responsibility to get it right. And if you're negligent and someone dies, you have to pay the piper.
Hey, so once again, the black man's skin is his sin. That's all I got to say.
That's true. They seem to we seem to come off as a far greater threat than them for whatever reason.
People just being black is aggressive. That's all I got to say. Once again.
Yeah. All right, so
next in the news,
through the white gaze. Yeah.
Through the white gaze. Yeah, exactly. So what's our next topic in the news?
Next up in the news, the Lakers lost. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about that.
You know what? That's cool. Yeah. This episode came a few days too late.
Yeah.
But we got a game tonight. So this is the game that they got to handle it. This to me, this is gonna be the series. So they need to handle business. And I'll say one thing about AD. He can be disappointing from time to time, but he's not gonna put back to back. He's not gonna put back to back bad performances.
He played like trash.
Yeah, I confession. Yeah. I didn't even watch it. I felt like, you know, they already got the split. I don't trust these guys. They might dog it out. And Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out. I was like sitting there going, you know, I don't trust my Lakes on this. I'm gonna take care of this Guardians of the Galaxy thing, you know, and they sure enough, you know, laid an egg. So I was correct.
They lost before the third quarter was over. That game was over in the third quarter. I was like, oh man, come on, bro. So hopefully they show out tonight. So we're not gonna be like Dylan Brooks and not speak on it, because we just started this session of the show last week, and we try to every week give you an update, win or lose. So we lost this week, and we play tonight, right? Or
play tonight in Los Angeles. So you
go
know,
Lakers, go Lakers.
That's right. So.
And we got our brother Omar, you know, he's Golden State Warriors over there.
Golden State and Detroit Pistons. That's just wrong and wrong. But you know, I always try to distinguish, despite the fact that I have my team and there's other teams I don't like. I'm always going to support these black athletes, and I root for their individual success. And you know, I can compartmentalize the fact that this is a game, and at the end of the day, I'm rooting for everybody to win on some type of level. But as far as this game go, it's Lakes.
Yeah.
Got things to say about that, First Lady?
I have nothing to say.
Come on, sister. You from LA. You supposed to be like, go Lakers.
Go Lakers.
All right.
I got something to say about the Lakers. I trust that Jimmy Carter will be around longer than the Lakers.
Ouch.
Damn.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. But you
Let's
know
move
what?
on. Let's move on. Come on.
He brought up the Jimmy Carter watch that we ain't been talking about, but he's still holding it and he's still kicking. So salute to Mr. Carter for surviving. But what else do we have in the news?
Next to the news, we're gonna jump on these Texas massacre where the brother or the Latino brother walked in because he was shooting his gun in the backyard. The neighbor asked him, "Could you please cut it down? We got a baby in here sleeping." And he out of whatever fit of rage or feeling that power that the gun makes you have, he went into the house and murdered this man's family. He killed 5 people. Let's get the pictures of the victims up. I don't like showing the shooters. They don't get no promo from me. I don't like saying their name. I just show the victim. These are the victims. I don't know the victims' names. But he went into the house and he killed these people. And the woman that was it was 2 dead women laying over 2 children because they was protecting the children from the bullets. They pulled the dead woman off, and thankfully the 2 children were still alive. But he got one of the children. And then he ran like a coward, and they found his cowardice ass hiding under some dirty laundry. Coward.
And, I shouldn't be saying this, but I have a hard take on this. First of all, look, when you see a threat like this, I do not suggest that anybody go out and handle this yourself, especially with words. This is a situation where you call the police, and they did call the police. Unfortunately, this was kind of like a rural place. They're very undermanned, and it just was going to take a long time for the police to go over there. But you got to be very careful about putting yourself in harm's way in these situations. My mother is always that person that wants to confront a neighbor that's cutting up, and I'm like, look, Mom, don't go do that, because if they do something to you, I'm just telling you right now, there's a good chance that I burn that whole house down. So if you know that I'm this type of way, you be responsible and don't put me in that situation, because I'm telling you right now, you put my hands on my mama, it's going to be a problem. And this fool murdered my family. I'm just telling you right now, there's a good chance. I will neither confirm nor deny. There's a good chance that everybody in his house comes up dead. I'm just saying.
I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to challenge that. Innocent people do not deserve to die. You do not deserve to die because your family member committed a murder.
But to his credit, he claimed you're doing a societal good, right? You're setting like an example, a precedent.
That's right. My whole thing. Yeah. Let me explain this, okay? Now, I'm not confessing
around this.
I'm not confessing to any future crimes, but this is my concern. We always have these people that do these mass shootings, and they're planning on dying, so they really don't care about what happens up until they die. But the way that humanity generally works, even if you hate most of the world, there's somebody in this world you tend to care about. And I say this, they don't get to just die and I die and I go fade to black and there's no repercussions for what I do. We can talk about God and heaven and hell and all this other stuff, but I need those people to have some type of suffering now. So that's why I take the position that if somebody is a mass killer and goes out and does some stupid stuff, and all of a sudden their whole nuclear family gets wiped out, and people start seeing this pattern that, hey, if somebody's doing some vigilante work, it's not just the issue of whether, I'm going to die, but, my favorite little niece might just get murked, and it'll put some pressure on them to think a little bit different. So I'm thinking about the societal impact that there's got to be repercussions that the rest of the people see. They won't see it, but that's
you'll keep it to the nuclear family, not the extended family, right?
Well, I'm not saying what I would do. I'm by no means am I saying that I would do this, but I'm just saying that I would tend to, if I were to do something, I would tend to think that it'd be the nuclear family that I'd be wanting to touch.
Okay. So cousins and nieces off limits,
unless you just happen to be in the way.
Well, put it this way: if I see you on Facebook, with your favorite niece or something like that, I mean, I shouldn't say if I see that. If
Can't
someone were to
do
see
that. You're targeting innocent people, man. You
it's
can't
not.
target the
Hey,
innocent.
it's not right, and I want to stress this. It's I mean, I remember this situation where like Sodom and Gomorrah, and it's like, well, what if there's like 10 innocent people? It's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. What if there's 9 innocent people? No. What if there's 8? So it's like this whole situation. So I'm of the position that no innocence should ever be paying the price for whatever we talk about. The father, the sons of the father, and the sins of the father, and all this type of other stuff. That's absolute righteousness. I definitely believe
sins of the fathers should not be visited upon the
Floyd
children.
X is 100% correct. From a standpoint of absolute justice, that is correct. But there's some policies that we do, some societal rules where people get punished because we're trying to have a societal impact. So some eggs might have to be broken for that omelet. I'm just saying, hey, put it this way.
Lady,
don't touch
you
my
hearing
family.
this, First Lady? Come on now. You hearing this, First Lady?
I'm listening. I do not agree with innocent lives being taken at all. It just breaks my heart just to know that the guy went in there and killed that family like that, and for the reason just because them asking him to stop shooting. That's no reason to go and kill innocent people. If that's what Mr. Nice Guy chooses to do, I can't say that I agree with that. And nobody wants their loved ones' lives to be taken, but you can't go punish an entire family based on one person's action either.
Now, real quick, the only one that do deserve to reap part of that punishment is his girlfriend, his ride or die chick who was trying to help him escape. She needs to reap some of that punishment. I believe they arrested her, and I think she's going to jail with them.
And not only that, there was another family member that there was 3 people that were caught up in that. And they arrested him. So that's why I'm saying that, family members.
I think that's a slippery slope. I mean, the girlfriend, I mean, her sister probably has something to do with it. They were using her cell phone, or they got gas money from an uncle. Everybody kind of gets linked in at some point. I think that what the brother Nice Guy is trying to do again is make a societal impact. He's trying to
my brother, he understands what I'm going for. I'm saying sometimes you got to make the hard, tough choices. Sometimes you got to be Thanos, and I am that guy. Theoretically.
What's your take on it, Mr. El Poo? You hearing this mess, man?
In a fit of rage, anything can happen. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, but no, I don't think you should. Well, I do believe in the eye for an eye, first of all.
Okay.
But I wouldn't take out the whole, all these innocent people. If it's one person I have a problem with, that's the person. That's my target.
Just like
no collateral damage.
If you're in the way, hey, and hey.
And the thing about it is, if I go after that one guy, their family may have an issue with me going after that one guy, and now I have a situation with them just on GP. I mean, that's the slippery slope about it. But again, I am neither confirming nor denying the fact that I would wipe out that entire house. But anyway,
well, if you have a problem, then you become an obstacle. You get in the way. So,
but again, I'm a person of peace. I believe I would have. I'm gonna always try to talk to people. I'm always going to try to talk to people first. I'm always going to try to be sensible. I'm not going to confront a guy with a gun that's sitting there that's doing crazy stuff. But I'm going to tell you, my household, we all got guns up in here. So we got cameras. None of that stuff is happening. This dude starts to cut. If I have to go talk to somebody with a gun, best believe I have a gun and I racked it before I went over there to do it. But, it's, this is that situation. What are you about to say, brother?
Yeah. Have you ever got whooped and been talked to while you're getting whooping? Like, I told you.
Yeah, I mean that's just crazy. But I mean, just we talk about dudes just shooting guns for fun. Guns are terrible. I mean, again, we have guns because they're sort of like an ugly necessity. If they're gonna have guns, my position is I'm gonna have guns. But I hate guns. Guns turn monsters, or I said guns turn pussies into monsters, and I'd rather turn monsters back into pussies. For lack of a better term. I apologize for the masculine, feminine picture that's painted by that analogy, but that's just the situation as far as these people that take these guns and do these terrible things that they couldn't possibly do without them.
Yeah, i.e. Juice, the movie Juice.
So what else we have in the news?
The last thing we want to talk about real quick, another shooting in Atlanta. A so-called brother. He shot at 5 women, killed 1. And he was an active shooter on the run for a couple of hours. I was watching the news. I'm way over here in California. And when you hear that an active shooter is on the loose, you are concerned for the safety of those people in that community. So they eventually captured the guy, and he's in jail right now. Another sucker, loser, who is targeting innocent people. Don't know his name, don't care for his name.
Yeah.
It was a brother too.
Yeah.
Too many of these shootings going on. You got anything to say about that person?
The shooting actually took place where my girlfriend lives in Atlanta, very close in that area. So her facility where she worked, a daycare, it went on lockdown during that time. So
damn. Yep. So we gotta be safe out here in these streets, man. People out here just losing it and just deciding to take other people's lives at random.
Put yourself in a position of power. I understand if a gun is not something that you can handle, then stay away from it. But if it's something that you can do, give yourself your best opportunity to survive. That's my position.
I subscribe to guns all day. I mean, I'm from Detroit, so that it kind of goes without saying. I remember once I took my daughter on a camping trip. It was just me and her, very early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, pitch black dark. And I had to bring that stick.
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter, she was only 7 years old at the time. She said, "Dad, I'm sure glad you brought that." She felt protected. She felt safe. I feel safe. So
yeah, absolutely. So
I get my Second Amendment with that one. I become a citizen.
And they be doing all type of they be doing all type of drills and all type of preparedness and organization. So black people got to be prepared because white people ain't playing about these guns. So that's a fact. But
at present, I just want to say at present, I do not own a gun, but I understand you got to keep that blicky for when the situation gets sticky.
another quick scenario, you have these makeshift gun ranges in Louisiana. I lived in Louisiana at one time, and we were actually down there with white people who had the Confederate flag. But guess what? Nobody wanted any smoke. It was all respect because they had guns and we had guns.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's equality. You know what I'm saying?
And for all of
everybody was very respectful to each other.
And all of our sisters out there on the fashion tip, you need to be like the first lady and get you a pretty pink blicky just in case the situation gets sticky. I've seen her.
It's pretty on the outside, but it's still ugly on the inside.
That's right.
You bring them problems.
The pink blicky.
So, we should, before we get into our topics, we should probably just do the quick shout outs. You want to take care of that, Brother Floyd X, or you want me to do it?
Let me try something here. I'm working on a project where instead of just giving the shout outs, we just show their commercials. So I got a few commercials. Let me just run the commercials of some of the people I got. This first one is Crowder's Neighborhood Market out here in Sacramento. Let me run this commercial real quick. It's a black owned at the African market. The first and third Saturday of the month is when you go out to the African market, and they'll be today, the first Saturday. So if you're in the Sacramento area, go pay them a visit and support the black owned stores. And then the next one we got our brother, Mr. La Brea Trucker. Let's run that commercial real quick. Yeah, so if you need something transported across straight legally, that's not illegal, holler at our brother at La Brea Trucking.
For real. Yeah.
Yes, sir. He go cross country, state to state, got a couple of dualies with some trailers. He can make it happen. And then let's go to the my favorite commercial. Y'all know what it is. The Focuz every Saturday at 9 a.m. Everybody that we didn't shout out, we're going to shout y'all out next week. We're working on commercials for y'all. If y'all get regular shout outs, we're working on the commercials for y'all. So we know who we talking about. We're talking about Homies Way Car Club. The Muhammad's Meat out there in the Bay Area. Shout out to Muhammad's Meat. The Wakusu, Wake Up, Clean Up, Stand Up. That's what it is. Wake Up, Clean Up, Stand Up. We got voice recorders of the Honorable or our brother, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. He coined that term, Wake Up, Clean Up, Stand Up. And that's out here in Sacramento with myself, Mr. Floyd X, and brother Maurice X. Shout out to Reese X in the Black August Studios. Any other shout outs?
No, that's straight. I mean, we always shout out our normal, our usual folks that came on, Toppy Woppy and Buddy Bud and Kilo 2 Music.
Yes, sir. Shout out to them brothers. All
so
right.
let's get into our first topic. So we're gonna talk about the 1619 project. See, I know I should have waited for the graphic to come up. So, and this is what we really brought, Brother Omar to speak on, because I saw a bunch of his Facebook posts on this, and he brought up some very interesting, points about it. So I don't know a whole lot about it. I know that this came out of sort of a New York Times endeavor, and that this a curriculum was put together, books were written. I know they did a documentary series on Hulu that I started watching in preparation for this, and I think I'm gonna just pass it off to Brother Omar. What are the things that really jumped out about you that you want to speak on about this?
Okay. I'm inspired by the brothers' shout out. That was a strong, very militant shout out. But so yeah, you're right. The book comes as a commemoration of the 400th anniversary of the first arrival of the Portugal manned the ship that brought the first. Actually, is really not the first, but the first English related people of African descent to Virginia as enslaved peoples in 1619. 2019, it marked the 400th anniversary. So she kind of put out a series in the New York Times that later became the Hulu series, and before that became a book, and is also a curriculum. They have ties to the Pulitzer organization at Columbia University, so there's a lot of resources being put into it. And what she does is she tries to reframe the origin story of the United States. We learn in school the United States started with the War of Independence, 1776, but she's trying to ground it within the framework of 1619, when the first, quote unquote, people who became later African Americans arrived here during that time. My issue with the book, and as you said, Brother Nice Guy, they do bring up some good stuff. Some they lend a lot of perspective to our history, to the politics, in terms of medicines, in terms of judicial injustice and things like that. But my problem with the book is she conflates Black liberation with Black patriotism.
Ooh, whoa. And let's get it. I'm all ears, brother. Let's get it. I want to hear this. Whoa.
Yeah. She links Black liberation to the promise of equality supposedly stated in the Declaration of Independence. And I take issue with that. I think that's falsehood. That's a mythology. The Declaration of Independence is basically a secessionist document. It's a secessionist letter. And it talks about the right of revolution, the right to independence. It really doesn't say anything about equality or freedom or justice at all. Seemingly, it says that, but if you're not familiar with like English philosophers, John Locke, Adam Smith, you would interpret we hold these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal. you would think that that was referring to equality before the law, but it isn't at all. And the Declaration, as we know, contains 27 grievances against the British Empire, and 2 of those grievances have to do with slavery. Like you're ending slavery, you're causing our slaves to be rebellious. So it's not that she refers to them as founding fathers were being hypocritical. They were being very consistent, because the Declaration is basically about how can they get a bigger cut of the colonial pie.
Oh shit!
So just think about that, because that was. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You about to say something?
No, that was it. That's
no. I'm talking about Floyd X. It looked like he was about to say.
I'm listening.
Yeah, because my take on it is this. I remember that I was reading it, and one of the quotes says, "It was by the virtue of our bondage we became the most American of all." Or they said, no people had a greater claim to the American flag than we did. And I'm like, hold up, that's their thing. I'm not trying to define myself by their thing. Their thing was flawed from the beginning. I understand that we are here and we got to go forward with something, let's work together, let's whatever. But I'm not buying into your ideology of like these people were great philosophers and great moral people. They were wicked from the very beginning, particularly to us. That flag is a Jolly Roger to me. So I'm not sitting here trying to make any excuses to why I deserve a piece of the pie. The fact of the matter is, we earned what we earned because of the role that we played as far as the life here, but not as far as to a part of their symbolism and their imagery and their whitewashing of what those people were really about. So that was kind of my problem with a lot of the stuff. But they had so much. There's a lot of great information in there. And when I say great, it's great for you to know. It's terrible information, but it's what actually happened to us in this country that people like DeSantis and his folk that want to pretend like doesn't exist at all. I want to say this real quick. This whole thing was sort of like really the big thing. When we talk about critical race theory, which is one of the great boogeymans of the Republican movement right now, a lot of it is based on this 1619 project. So you talk about critical race theory as it relates to the 1619 project. This was a college curriculum. But for some reason, they're concerned that this is going to be taught to kindergartners and elementary and junior high. And that's why they're just so up in arms. But the reality is all of this stuff is the truth.
I agree. And if you really listen to what, by the way, Nicole Hannah-Jones is the lead on the 1619 project. She's not saying anything that is really antithetical to what the Republicans are talking about. She's arguing that this is a form of patriotism. Black patriotism is what has driven, Black people in our movement towards liberation, which is really honestly not true at all. Like, for instance, in the book, she highlights Crispus Attucks. We've heard of Crispus Attucks, the first person to die for the formation of the United States.
First person died in the revolution, right? The Revolutionary War, right?
In a quote unquote revolution, because it wasn't a big change of power, but we would say in the war for independence. But in actuality, Black people who were free to fight during that time sided with the British. We were Black loyalists. We sided with the Redcoats because the Redcoats under Lord Dunmore, they promised us land and sovereignty. And in fact, they did stick to that promise. And that's how Nova Scotia and Canada came about. And then later, Sierra Leone. So we fought against the formation of the United States. And when you think about patriotism, the opposite of patriotism is to be an expatriate. It's to expatriate. The biggest movements in the 18th and 19th century were repatriation movements by Black people, back to Africa movements. That's how Liberia came about. Most of the biggest mass gatherings, like the colored conventions, repatriation, trying to get away from the United States, trying to separate, that's been the dominant trend in our history. She just overlooks all of that, and she majors in the minor things to try to connect us to this mythology, to this promise of equality, supposedly in the Declaration of Independence and in the and then codified later in the Constitution.
So what you got to say about that, Brother Floyd X?
Hey, brother, I'm listening. That brother's teaching right now, man. That brother's teaching right now. I'm listening like, man.
It's just interesting because, like, the biggest for abolitionists in the early 19th century, the popular form of protest was to burn the Constitution. That's what abolitionists did. They burnt. They described the Constitution as a covenant in hell. Wow. You burned the flag and you burned the Constitution as a protest because it was clearly understood that the Constitution is a pro-slavery document. But none of this gets highlighted in her book or in her Hulu series. You see people draped in the American flag. She talks about her father, his house. Can we curse him? I don't know if it's appropriate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Her father was
talk your shit.
You know, her father is living in the hood. The house is fucked up. You know, underpaid, substandard living conditions. But he always kept the flag fresh and clean. And as a child, she was embarrassed about her dad because how could he be loyal to these institutions, to these governments that totally disrespected and dehumanized us. But then later in her conclusion is that she understands why now, and because of the Declaration and, the promise of Lincoln and all of this type of stuff, and my country 'tis of thee. And it's just totally ahistorical. Black people are the least patriotic people if you were to do polls. And not only that, if you look at times where patriotism is at a low, when there's a lot of political dissension, those are times that Black people have made the most political gains. 50s and the 60s, Reconstruction era, the Civil War, we thrived off of dissension, political breakdown. So
I have a question for you.
I'm sorry, I'm going on there.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is voting patriotic?
I would say it depends on why you vote. I think that, as Malcolm said, by any means necessary. So I don't exclude any means towards power. If it can enhance me and empower me, then I'll use it. But I don't look at it as I look at it as in a tactical way.
Okay.
If that answers the question.
Ballot or the bullet?
The ballot or the bullet. And by the way, Lloyd Ford Garrison and the early abolitionists were against voting too. That's just another side note.
All right. Do you vote, brother?
I do vote. Locally, mostly locally. And in the last election, I have to say I did vote for Biden. I did.
Okay.
I just felt like, man, we need to watch
this like a good patriot.
I had to put out my patriot coat, man, because I was like, man, this dude Trump go take us straight to fascism on the rocket ship. Let's slow it down. Let's slow it down a little bit,
That's a great take, man. That is a great take right there. I wish Walk was here for this, but maybe I don't, because his position might be utterly ridiculous, but I still would like it to be heard.
Because I know, like, one of the things we talked in preparing for the show, we was talking about as far as voting and the reasoning for voting, like the 1619 Project, when they spoke about how those Black folks was being disenfranchised in that elder community where they had to make it difficult for them to vote. Shit like that pissed me off, man. And I was watching that. I think I'm into the second episode now, but that shit was pissing me off. I'm sitting there like, damn, this is crazy. That they able to do that. They able to pass these laws and just make it difficult for you to vote. Because I mean, voting, I know for me, if I got to go through hoops, I'll be like, fuck that voting shit. I'll be like, fuck it. And so they win because they know the chances of who I'm voting for, and I'm not Trump. So it's likely they know, okay, we want to be Biden. Let's make it difficult for these Black folks to vote. And they are winning with that shit right now.
Let me say one thing about voting. If it wasn't important, they wouldn't put so many restrictions on it and stuff
right.
like that.
That's a fact. Give yourself a horn. You don't like to give it. but that's the truth. I'll tell you this, religiously, I was always against voting, like as I constructed it, and I always kind of felt like it was my responsibility to not vote, not to be a part of the system, So when these extreme terrorists go attacking the country and stuff like that, they understand that I have no hand in any of this. So I'm going to be that one or two or the three that stops Sodom and Gomorrah from getting burned down. But it came to a point where I was like, this is a tool in the tool shed. It matters who's cooking your food. It matters who's driving your car. It mattered what politician is in some type of office. I understand that you're not going to get everything you want, but the reality is this guy or this female will give you something than this male or this female or this non-binary person. This is a reality. The fact of the matter is every individual will have their influence, and it's important to have some type of impact. If you can have some impact as far as who's making these decisions, who's putting in this will give yourself your best chance, and always do that. Give yourself your best chance. So now I'm a diehard believer in voting, notwithstanding my religious position.
Cool.
First Lady, you got anything to say about that?
Voting, I'm all for voting. We always complain and expect for change, but if we don't get out there and vote and voice our opinion, we cannot expect the change. We may not always win, but if we put the effort in and to try to voice our opinion, it's possible we can get what we want. Like, who would have thought that we would have ever had a Black president, for starters? So I'm all for voting. You get the same results if you keep doing the same thing. So it's up to us to try to make a change. And I say we all get out there and vote by every opportunity we have.
If I can just add a little something to that, because I don't think we get the biggest bang for our buck by voting. And I think, as you said, nice guy, it's just one tool in the shed. But I think, to be clear, we've made more gains through social movements, and that that should be our primary. That should be the primary place that we place our energy around.
Can you give an example, brother? Making gains through social movements.
Well, we see all the gains that we made just in terms of legislation in the 60s and 70s. That was the result of the Black liberation. I don't like to call it a civil rights movement, because I think there was a civil rights phase and then there was a Black power phase, but they were just generally Black liberation movements. So through the Black liberation movements in the 60s and the 70s, like with the MIA, Montgomery Improvement Association, the bus boycott, SCLC, SNCC, RAM, those organizations and those movements are what brought about change. And historically, that's what brings about change, not voting. But voting is a tool to be used tactically, like any other tool, but it's not the main way that we can make change.
Can I throw the Black Panthers up in that group too, bro?
Oh, absolutely. And those groups that didn't vote, they made gains for us, because white liberals had to choose, like, okay, if we don't comply with the interests of these Black liberals here, we got the Black Panthers, we got these other groups in the background. So you have what is known in militarily as a flank, what they call the flank effect. So just the Black Power movement was a threat that made civil rights more palatable for white people.
Shout out to the Nation of Islam on that same
Nation
note.
of Islam, you got to throw them in that. Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, is there a movement that's happening today that you would back that is in that same vein?
I would say the Malcolm X grassroots movement that I'm a part of is and the Jackson Rise movement. I think those movements are movements that are really aiming to change the power dynamics, to really gain resources, because that's really for maybe you may differ, but that's really what it's all about to me. You're trying to win resources. If we don't, voting is good to the degree we can win resources from voting. If we can't win resources from voting, I say forget voting, go to something else. I feel that we should link our liberation to land and sovereignty, but that's a whole different discussion.
So the resources you're speaking about is land, and what else? Anything else?
All types of resources, political, economic resources, infrastructure. I think that land and sovereignty are really up there as far as resources. I think that's politically, that would be the most beneficial for us.
Cool.
Absolutely agree with that. 100%. You want to add something more about this topic, Brother Floyd?
I want to say some resources. If we keep our fingers crossed, maybe we'll get this reparations one day, right? Is everybody? I'll just try to
hold our breath.
See where everybody's standing. Well, California
Cali is doing some interesting things in that regard, though. They have the first state reparations committee, and they have
$5 million enough. Is $5 million per black person enough?
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways you can do this too. Like, don't tax black people for a certain number of generations. You know, you don't have to necessarily put money into it. You can just not take money from us, because for so long we've had to pay taxes without representation.
Excuse me, brother, for a minute. We got I think we had Mr. Walk. He was so anxious to get on the show. He tried to resist, but he's here. Yeah, Mr. Walk is in the building. How's it going, Mr. Walk?
What up?
Chilling. You just
what up? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Hey, by the way, those are all just jokes.
I don't want to hear your shit, Night. Here's what I gotta say. As soon as I come in, well, hold on. I'm coming in. I'm listening to the show. I hear if Walk was here, I might have a ridiculous take. First of all, yo, bro, if it's ridiculous in your mind, that's what it is. But that's kind of disrespectful, homie. Like, because you say a lot of shit I don't agree with. It's ridiculous in my mind state, but to say it and put it out there for the show, that's not cool, bro. You teeter-tottering on the bullshit. But anyway, what's up, brothers? How y'all doing? Lady J and everybody and brother Project 1619. What's good with y'all?
Chilling. All good. So let's switch gears. Mr. Omar, you know, we're gonna jump to our
if it's a race war, if it's a race with guns, we're gonna it's bad.
All right, let's we're gonna switch
as a black people
because we promoted the Brat and the Dupart, the Judy Harris Dupart. So we're gonna take these last 10 minutes and speak on this topic. The Brat and Judy Harris Dupart, they had a what they call it, the IV or intravenous birth, or what I don't know the scientific term, but
it's took artificial insemination.
They took Dupart's egg, put it in the Brat, and then they got a donation of semen and put it on the egg, and they had a pool of people, like 800 people, and all of them were white males. One was black. And because they said the black man was unattractive, they used a more ruder term, vulgar term for what he looked like. And that's why they eliminated him and chose to go with a white man's sperm. So they're going to help reproduce a white man as opposed to reproducing a black man to raise. I mean, what's y'all take on this?
Hey, you should get first pick since you haven't been a part.
That's
what you got to say about
everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up, but we're trying to work with you. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Twilight Zone.
Well, that's pretty much what society is right now. Nobody want to have a little burnt, ugly black baby. That's how it's been. That's because they look at black as that's ugly, and the Brat ain't no different. See, me, I'm different. I made sure all my kids was burnt black like me, and they look beautiful like me. See, people better get their mind right. That's what's going on. Not cool, the Brat. I was a big fan, but I'm not no more because she specifically wanted a white, half mixed baby. That ain't cool. Keep it African, girl.
All right.
Let me. I want to say something about this. Now, I totally agree with what he just said. And again, I know that I mess around with you and I talk about random ignorance, but I always point out that you make great points, and this is an absolute great point. This is my position. The fact that you have this concept of this black person is ugly because he didn't look like some particular way. I've always said that we need to recalibrate our concept of beauty. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of stuff that we hate about ourselves is because of all the societal forces that have influenced in that way, and that's definitely a reflection of that for that. So she's a independent person. She's making her own choices. I understand. I ain't trying to get in her business, but that hurts my heart to hear. But what you got to say about that, First Lady?
Yeah, it's sad that she said the black man looked like Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy
And
Cricket.
that's the reason why they didn't choose that one particular that black man. His brains could have been way better than what he appeared to be on the outside. You know, it's not just about your appearance and looks. I guess he just got saved for a possible lawsuit, like the man sued the lady ugly child, just saying. But no, they are wrong, and it hurts my heart too to see that the one black man that did donate was the one that was tossed to the side. And it's sad. It will make more black men choose not to donate. If your own kind going to choose not to accept you, who do you expect to accept you if we don't accept you?
And let me say this. I know that at one point, Flavor Flav was the poster child for ugly. Anytime somebody wanted to describe ugly, they said, look at Flavor Flav. Flavor Flav. He was always looked at as ugly. And if you've seen his children, he has some handsome young men, beautiful daughters. So you can't just look at a man and determine how your children gonna come out. It's sad, and it's I think it was disrespectful for them to do that, and it was a slap in the black people's face, in my opinion.
El Poo.
Flavor Flav is ugly. If he a light skinned adult,
and his son Boosie Badass looked just like him too. So
Bougie. What you got to say about that, brother Omar?
But I got some. No, hold on.
Sorry.
I got something to say. I just got one thing. Sugar and salt looks exactly the same.
That's an interesting point.
I don't agree with it. Sugar and salt looks exactly the same. Do it. Oh, you're right. I'm thinking black pepper. My bad. For some reason, my brain was registering black pepper.
Well, you can't just drop that one. You got to break that down. What does that mean?
Yeah, you might think it's sweet, but once you get a taste of it.
Oh, okay.
So looks can be deceiving. That's kind of that's what's there. And First Lady J brought up the great point. You know, you got to think about the intelligence, all these other attributes that you'll be passing on. But what's your take on this, brother Omar?
Yeah, I don't. You know, I was still thinking about one being an inorganic compound and the other being an organic compound.
Oh, yeah. God.
I don't know. Like, I think that I would have. It's important. It's important to me to selectively to choose someone black. So I don't know. Like, with her money and resources, why did she just have to make a decision just then? Like, and also, can't we get a family tree or history of if she was going for a certain look? I understand that some people want a certain height, a certain look. But as someone said earlier, at the end of the day, you still never know what you might get. You know, there's a lot of, meiosis. You know, there's a lot of crossing over. There's a lot of scrambling of the genes and the traits. So at the end of the day, you can still get an ugly baby, you know what I'm saying, with this handsome person, you know.
That's why I don't never say anything bad about somebody's children. Go ahead, brother.
The only thing I'm tripping off with the Brat is why would she put that out there? See, that's something if you do it on the low, you did it. Why are you putting it out there like, the black one was ugly, but the other white guys, like, see, that's just more playing into the black is black and white is right. This been going on since the slave days.
And that's why we're talking about it right now. And that's why we talk. Were any black of the white people, were none of them were excluded? Or was it like a beauty exclusion process or something?
It started out with 800. They narrowed it down to 400. Okay. And of the 400, it was just one black person. So I don't know. So I guess the other bunch of other white people got it.
There were some situations where they I guess they have some way to analyze genetics, and they were like, your genetics with this genetics was a great chances that you're going to produce these bad, whatever. So they were actually weeding out sort of like dysfunctional potential or whatever. So once they got down to that number, there was only one black person in that pool. So that's how it was. And then once they did that, they started there. They even said that they were trying to look for a black. They said they tried to extend the process and wait. Hopefully another person would present themselves.
Yeah, that's that shallow mentality, man. You got one black, choose that one black, man. Come on. That's so shallow.
Agreed. I agree with
I don't agree with that. I don't believe any of that, what she's saying about like, oh, we chose from this. I think she specifically wants somebody because she the brat, she got the money, she paying for it. She going through the list who gonna be what. I'm not buying none of that where it was like, okay, these were the only candidates. I'm not buying. That's just me. She wanted to have mixed meat.
I was trying to understand why they put it in the brat. I thought she was the bull in the relationship, but from what I understand, the lady, the actual the female in the relationship, she had something with blood clots, so she had a situation where she couldn't carry. That's why they put it in the bull. I mean, the brat.
The more masculine one. Yeah, but that's interesting. Hey, Omar, you must live like in the hood. Are you the one that's having all the sirens going on?
Oh yeah, let me know. I should have muted. Yeah, I'm actually I'm right here on East 14th, man. I'm trying to get out of here, man. I'm in what they call the murder dubs. This is called the murder dubs.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, brother, man, it was good having you on the show. I would love to have you back on the show because I think I would learn a lot talking to you, and you could help a lot teaching our viewers and sharing some good information that you have with you, brother. I appreciate you being on the show today.
Well, I appreciate being here. It was informative for me too. I learned a lot as well.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right.
Do it again. Let's do it again. Remix.
That's right. Anybody else got any closing remarks before we head up out of here?
No.
No,
right.
I think
hell no. That was a good one, though. That was a good one. All right. We out of here. Thank y'all.
All right, y'all.